Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and dear students, a very warm welcome to all of you to this prestigious occasion. We are delighted to have you join us today for the program release and admission fair of the 2-year MA Corporate Law in collaboration with NALSAR University of Law and EBC Learning. This event is indeed a significant milestone in the field of corporate law education. Now I would like to call upon our distinguished guests to the stage. Our chief guest, Professor Srikrishna Deva, special guest Mr. Atul Sharma, Mr. Gautam Saha, Mr. Tishampati Singh, Ms. Shivani Singh, and Mr. Abhinandan Malik. Without further ado, let us extend our heartfelt welcome to our esteemed dignitaries. It is an absolute honor to introduce our chief guest, Professor Srikrishna Deva, the Vice Chancellor of NALSAR University of Law. Professor Rao is a renowned legal expert who has led NALSAR to new heights of excellence in legal education. With a wealth of experience, including notable positions as Vice Chancellor at NLU Delhi and NLU Odisha, his contributions span 5 prestigious law universities in India. His groundbreaking research in criminal law and criminal justice administration has shaped significant advancements acknowledged by the Supreme Court of India in the landmark D.K. Basu case in 1997. He has played a pivotal role in developing legal aid programs and specialized courses both nationally and internationally. Professor Rao's dedication to the field earned him the prestigious Kumarappa Reckless Award and a key role in presenting the Universal Periodic Report of India at the UNHCR Council. I would request Mr. Sumeet Malik, Director EBC Group, to welcome our chief guest. Please join me in a round of applause to welcome Professor Srikrishna Deva Rao. Alongside our chief guest, we have other distinguished guests who have graced us with their presence today. Each of them has made remarkable contributions to the legal profession. It is now our privilege to welcome our distinguished guest of honor, Mr. Atul Sharma, Executive Chairman at Dentons LinkLegal, with a remarkable career spanning over 4 decades in the legal industry. Mr. Sharma is a leading dispute, infrastructure and aviation lawyer. He has received prestigious awards and top rankings in global legal directories for his expertise in aviation and dispute resolution. Mr. Sharma has also served in significant roles, including Regional President of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and board member of a leading domestic airline in India. His contributions to various legal areas have been widely recognized and recommended. I would request Mr. Abhinandan Malik, Director EBC Group, to welcome our special guest, Mr. Atul Sharma. Let's give a warm round of applause to welcome Mr. Atul Sharma, our esteemed guest of honor. With great pleasure, we welcome another eminent panelist, Mr. Gautam Saha, whose vast experience and expertise have earned him great acclaim in the legal industry. Mr. Gautam Saha is a highly accomplished corporate lawyer with a distinguished 24-year career. He is sought after by Indian corporates, multinationals, financial institutions, and PE funds for his expertise in M&A, private equity, venture capital, and banking and finance. His impressive track record includes leading groundbreaking deals and providing valuable guidance on cross-border transactions and project finance. Mr. Saha is consistently recognized as a top-tier lawyer in esteemed legal directories, further solidifying his authority in the legal field. I would request Mr. Abhinandan Malik, Director EBC Group, to welcome Mr. Gautam Saha. Please join me in extending a warm round of applause to welcome Mr. Gautam Saha, our esteemed panelist. We are delighted to welcome our next distinguished panelist. Introducing our esteemed moderator for today's event, Mr. Tishampati Singh. Mr. Tishampati Singh is an accomplished legal practitioner with expertise spanning various areas including corporate commercial litigation, arbitration, and more. As an advocate on record of the Supreme Court, he actively engages in crucial legal matters, leveraging his expertise and acumen to uphold justice. Notably, Mr. Singh played a pivotal role in representing the whistleblower in one of the first of its kind whistleblower suits in India involving a significant data privacy class action. Additionally, he was an integral part of a special team entrusted with investigating the management of affairs at the revered Lord Jagannath Temple in Puri, Odisha, further attesting to his commitment to the principles of integrity and fairness. I would request Ms. Pratima Narayan, co-founder Technology, to welcome Mr. Tishampati Singh. Please join me in a round of applause to welcome Mr. Tishampati Singh, who will also be moderating our panel discussion today. Last but certainly not least, we are delighted to welcome our next distinguished panelist, Ms. Shivani Singh, to this momentous event. Ms. Shivani Singh is an accomplished in-house counsel and public policy professional with over a decade of experience. Her expertise lies in intellectual property, technology and law, where she excels in developing IP and licensing strategies and providing strategic advice on legal risk for diverse sectors. She has made significant contributions through leadership in public policy, outreach and advocacy initiatives for private organizations and government bodies. Her notable achievements include her work with DPIIT and Ministry of Commerce and Industry and her nomination by DPIIT for IP training of trainers with the Japan Patent Office, showcasing her dedication and impact in the legal and intellectual property landscape. I would request Mr. Pradyum Anand Purohit, Editor EBC Learning, to welcome Ms. Shivani Singh. Let us give a round of applause to Ms. Shivani Singh. Now I invite Mr. Abhinandan Malik, the esteemed Director of EBC Learning, to deliver the welcome address for this event.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to each of you joining us here today. We are gathered here to celebrate the groundbreaking partnership between EBC Learning from the EBC Group and NALSAR University of Law. Both are cornerstones in their respective fields of publishing, online courses, technology, and in education. With the EBC legacy dating back to 1942, we have been known for high-quality publications and pioneering works in both print and in electronic formats, always making knowledge more and more accessible. And now, through EBC Learning and the online medium, we are committed to making knowledge and quality legal education even more accessible. NALSAR University of Law, on the other hand, carries the legacy of academic excellence, producing some of the highest and brightest minds in our country, and has rightly earned its place as India's top legal university. This partnership was almost inevitable, and one only wonders why it perhaps did not happen sooner. For NALSAR is not only my own alma mater, but Professor Krishna Deva has been my very dear teacher. Thanks must also go to my other dear teachers, Professor Vijayalata Reddy and Professor Vasanthi, who were crucial in bringing this into fruition. In addition to our personal connections, this partnership was only natural. It is a synergy of shared values, mutual respect, and a joint vision of empowering students with quality legal education. Together, we aspire to bridge the gap between traditional legal education and the evolving needs of the industry. Today, we are thrilled to introduce the 2-year MA in Corporate Law. This course is an amalgamation of EBC Group's 80-year legacy of publishing rich legal literature, EBC Learning's state-of-the-art online learning methodology, our online course materials, corporate partnerships, and NALSAR's rich legal academia and expertise in legal education. Our students will gain a comprehensive understanding of corporate law from its foundational principles to advanced applications, all at their own pace and convenience. This course offers a comprehensive learning experience through live classes, over 550 online videos, case studies from SCC Online, and access to high-quality legal literature via EBC Reader. It transcends the traditional theoretical learning, focusing on practical application of legal concepts. The curriculum introduces the entire transaction life cycle, starting with due diligence, where you learn to assess and manage potential risks and liabilities effectively. The course also instructs on structuring transactions, exploring varied strategies to attain successful outcomes, aligning with client goals. Furthermore, the course covers critical compliance requirements during transactions to ensure transparency, accountability, and minimize potential complications. It also delves into the complexities of valuation in transactions, providing insights into assessing the value of assets, businesses, and investments. This practical and comprehensive approach equips students with the skills, knowledge needed to handle complex transactions confidently in the real world. By mastering the entire transaction life cycle, students will be well versed to pursue their successful legal careers. But the value of this program goes far beyond the curriculum. Our students will be learning from some of the most experienced and distinguished faculty in the field, giving them invaluable insights and perspectives. This program is even more valuable due to the flexibility offered via the online medium. It will allow our students to balance their professional commitments alongside their education. EBC Learning makes legal education accessible at your own pace, your own time and place. Our goal is not merely to educate but to cultivate the next generation of corporate lawyers and leaders. Professionals who can navigate the complexities of the legal landscape, uphold the principles of justice, and promote ethical business practices. In closing, I would like to extend my gratitude to all those who have made this partnership possible. Professor Rao, Professor Vidyutlata, the exceptional teams at NALSAR and EBC Learning. Your hard work and dedication have laid the foundation for a future of immense possibilities. This program is not just a milestone for EBC Learning and NALSAR University of Law, but also a beacon of hope for every aspiring corporate lawyer. So I would encourage you all, dear students, to take advantage of this opportunity, join us, and embark on a journey that promises to be transformative and rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for setting the stage for this remarkable event. Your words have truly energized us, and we are honored to have you here today. It is with great honor that I now invite our chief guest, Professor Srikrishna Deva Rao, to grace the stage and deliver his address.
I am delighted to be here today on this very important occasion, which is very important in the milestone for the NALSAR Law University and also the EBC Learning. As Abhinandan has said, 80 years of EBC Learning and 25 years of NALSAR. NALSAR is celebrating Silver Jubilee this year. We started in 1998. I think that's really a milestone. During the conversations, we were just discussing about how the legal education has moved from 80s, 90s to 2000. I think that really reflects the underlying need for a much more comprehensive corporate legal education in India. I think I'm happy that when Abhinandan approached, I thought this is the right time. We should move forward and create more and more profit maximization is also important. Creating a culture of entrepreneurship, startup also is important. Along with that also corporate business ethics and also best practices in the management. We're looking at how the contemporary trends of environment, social governance and several others. We also have to promote corporate philanthropy in India. I think that's where I see that this program in the coming years will be a unique collaboration between NALSAR University of Law and EBC Learning. Abhinandan said it's really a transformative program because it combines academic excellence with practical skills, empowering the students to understand and analyze and learn in the dynamic field of corporate law. Legal education always is a holistic education, and particularly when we look at both, that's the motto and a mission of both the NALSAR and the EBC Learning. We are all committed for providing holistic legal education that prepares students to face contemporary challenges. And the collaboration with EBC Learning really allows us to leverage this expertise as India's top law publisher and combines it with our own resources. NALSAR over the years, 25 years, has really grown as one of the choicest law school in India. We have expert faculty, and 10 years ago we also started a management program, and I think that both lawyers, managers, corporate managers, advocates, many people, I think this program will really help them, and this program combines all these practical learning and also the contemporary challenges in the corporate law. So both NALSAR and EBC has developed this comprehensive curriculum that really addresses evolving needs of the corporate world. This 2 years master's program offers a structured learning experience designed to equip students with in-depth knowledge and practical expertise. Throughout the course, we have covered several important areas: mergers and acquisition, competition law, contract law and contract drafting, corporate compliance and risk management, and several others. These courses are carefully crafted with EBC Learning of so many years of experience, and NALSAR faculty has also contributed in providing and developing this all-round holistic understanding of corporate law and its various complexities. One of the program highlights is our esteemed faculty comprising of renowned academics and experienced professionals from the legal and corporate sector. Today we could see on the dais the several corporate leaders today are present, and that really reflects the learning which we wanted to provide in future. This expertise, the academic expertise, industry insights will enrich the learning experience, ensuring that you will receive a world-class education. Additionally, we regularly invite industry experts, law firms, companies, and several others to share their real-world perspectives. Keeping all the curriculum and the instruction up to date with latest trends in the developments in corporate law. As this MA program will really provide access to wealth of educational resources, and this program, has Abhinandan has rightly said, it has 500 captivating videos, and it provides a visual interactive learning experience. You can also have the access to leading cases from SEC online and a vast collection of ebooks from the EBC reader. It offers a treasure trove of knowledge at your fingertips. Furthermore, the NALSAR library resources also will provide an access to a diverse range of digital books, articles, research papers, and other educational materials. So therefore, I strongly believe that a time has come that to offer a comprehensive course. I'm happy that both EBC and NALSAR has partnered in offering this 2-year MA program. We believe that this program will serve as a gateway to the success in the field of corporate law. Whether you are a lawyer looking to specialize in corporate law or a corporate professional seeking to enhance your understanding, this program will definitely equip you with necessary skills and knowledge to excel in this multifaceted realm of new knowledge. We invite all of you to embark on this transformative journey with us and prepare to make a significant impact in the world of corporate law. All the best, and I once again thank EBC for partnering with NALSAR in offering this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for gracing us with your presence and sharing your valuable insights. Your words have enlightened and inspired us all. We have prepared a special video featuring testimonials from our currently enrolled students in our corporate law programs at EBC Learning. So let us take a moment to hear what they have to say about their journey with us and how EBC Learning has contributed to their professional growth.
Greetings from Sharma Balasubramanya, Associate Advocate with Sundar Swami and Ramdas. I wish to share my experience of having enrolled and successfully completed an upskill diploma in advanced corporate law organized by EBC Learning. This was a wonderful program organized by EBC Learning. I wish to encourage any students who enroll with this kind of program by EBC Learning all the very best. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Varun Patania. The best part of this course is its interactive sessions and group projects. We simulate real legal scenarios and work together as a team. This course has definitely known my legal skills and my problem solving and negotiation skills.
Hi, my name is Shruti Sharan and I'm currently enrolled in the Advanced Corporate Law Upskill Diploma course. It's been an incredible experience so far. The faculty is top-notch and the curriculum is designed to tackle real-world challenges. I've learned about forms of business organizations and agency problems, how to excel at drafting contracts, incorporation, registration and conversion of various types of companies, and many other important topics under corporate law. The practical insights shared by instructors have been invaluable.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Charu Mathur and I have the privilege of teaching corporate law at EBC Learning. The course is designed to empower students with the knowledge, skills and ethical values necessary to thrive in corporate legal landscape. What makes this course truly special is the emphasis on practical learning. I believe in preparing my students for the challenges that they will face in their careers, not just with theoretical concepts, but also through hands-on experiences.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Pratima Narayan and it gives me immense joy to be an instructor at EBC Learning. My goal is to foster critical thinking and instill in each student a deep sense of responsibility towards ethical corporate practices. Together, we will explore the complexities of corporate law and carefully analyze the profound impact of legal decision in society. I hope to not only impart knowledge but also inspire a passion for the subject that will accompany you throughout your professional careers.
Greetings everyone, I am Pradyum and I'm delighted to be a part of EBC Learning as a corporate law instructor. My passion for law and teaching drives me to create an engaging and dynamic learning experience for all my students. I firmly believe that practical exposure is key to becoming successful legal professional. It's crucial for future legal practitioners to not only comprehend the law, but also to be mindful of their role in creating a just and equitable business environment. I'm confident that with dedication and hard work, each of you will leave with course well prepared to excel in corporate legal world. See you at the program.
Now, the moment we are all here for has arrived. It is with great excitement and honor that I invite our esteemed panelists to release the program for the 2-year MA Corporate Law. I would request all our panelists to please open the ribbons and hold up the brochures as the media captures the official launch. Next up, we have an engaging and insightful panel discussion on the topic AI in corporate law, issues, challenges and opportunities. I would like to request our moderator, Mr. Tishampati to lead the discussion.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. It's indeed an interesting topic, and it's my privilege to be bang in the middle of a very, very interesting panel with luminaries on either side of me. I can only hope that we'll reach a point of aggressive disagreement which will keep people away from the tea and snacks for a little longer. But let me just start this out by wondering out loud. I know Google and softwares like SCC Online, I know why I'm saying SCC Online here, but they've changed the way we do research. They've changed the way we prepare for matters, compared to previous generations. I've had seniors who've looked at me and said, why aren't you looking at the AR manual? And I've told them because the answer's right here when I type in the keywords. So it changed the way in which we started preparing for matters and doing research. Do we really think that generative AI, like ChatGPT, like various others out there, is going to bring a paradigm shift, or is it really much ado about nothing? And maybe we can just start off with Vice Chancellor Rao giving us your views on this.
I think generative AI will be a paradigm shift in the legal education, legal practice, maybe even the emerging jurisprudence. Entire legal profession may have to use it, but what I firmly believe that will expedite the procedure, it will minimize the delay. It will also help in the secondary judging or a lawyering function, but not the primary core of practice, the argumentation, or finally the judgment writing. But all of us must look at with optimism towards the AI generation. That's my view.
We do say that, but I'm just wondering whether generative AI is right now in implementation in any practice, in any office. Maybe Mr. Saha, if you have some thoughts on whether the interactive AI is used and in what capacity it can be used.
Okay, I must confess I'm not the most clued in person when it comes to AI or technology. Like all other lawyers, I'm very change averse. I think lawyers notoriously are probably the most tradition-based and tradition-friendly. You start from how people still dress in court, and then from there on. So I think lawyers don't like change. They don't like to change the way they work, and that's the truth of the matter, and I'm one of them. Having said that, I think generative AI, I'm not sure, at least in the Indian context, any law firm has implemented, at least not to my knowledge. There are different tools like you had SCC Online, you have Google, you have other software-based tools which are more enablers for people, for lawyers who are working to help them do their tasks. So for example, there are softwares which allow people to proofread a document. So when we started out 25 years ago, it was our job as first year associates to sit and proofread 100-page documents, check for spelling errors, check for formatting issues, see if the way definitions are written is properly or not. And that had to be done manually. We used to sit with a printout, go over it manually, then feed it in, then take another printout and check whether everything is done. Now that kind of stuff I think is now easily available, but I'm not sure if that's really AI, that's just a office tool or a sophisticated office tool. Similarly, there are, softwares which allow people to very quickly summarize documents. So a large part of what we do in corporate law firms is due diligence. So you've got these multitudes of documents which you have to review and summarize. I think that's something which is not yet very prevalent, but I would expect in the next few years that's something which will happen or should happen very quickly, where today you have juniors sitting and reviewing 100-page agreements and trying to summarize it in 2 or 3 pages. But I think that's a very easy one for AI to pick up, where they can just scan those 100 pages and come up with like a reasonably accurate 2-3 page summary. But beyond that, I don't think currently much is in use.
So Shivani, I'm going to come to it right at the end because I know you do have something to say. But let me just take Mr. Sharma's view very quickly. So first of all, just going back, do you think this is really applicable in the corporate world setup? And is it just doing something faster and quicker, or do you think there's a value add that can happen with AI as well?
Tishampati, I would put it very briefly in the Indian context particularly. When you talk of use of AI in our business, law firm practice, it is more, the heart says no, the mind says yes. So it is a very useful tool. At the end of the day, what is it? What is it that we want to use it for? And Gautam touched upon it briefly by saying that it is a tool, right? Is it a substitute for intelligence at the moment? No. So the basic distinction, I was just reading where this AI concept came in, and coincidentally, it was in the year 1956 itself in our Companies Act, not the 13th one, but this act came into being. That this gentleman, I noted down his name. His name is John McCarthy, and he defined AI as the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, especially intelligent computer. So now there are 2 expressions in this definition. One is machine, intelligent machines, and a computer. So intelligence and computers. It is not simple computing. It is computing which is improved, which has the ability to make a more informed, intelligent decision. So that's a distinction that you will find in computing, pure computing and AI. Now, can this be a substitute? We have seen different kinds of applications of these tools which are relevant for the purposes of doing whatever routinely we do, whether corporate due diligence or we do compliance management or we do any kind of activity which we believe will empower us to take an informed decision and own that advice that we render to our clients. In that context, I don't think that the whole system is matured enough, even internationally. I mean, we've had this recent case of a law firm being sued for using ChatGPT to generate a document, and then so the question, a very simple test of whether it is going to be used or is it going to substitute the core legal competence of a lawyer, would you get an insurance which will give you a policy which will secure you from a liability arising out of an advice which is based on AI? The answer, I think Gautam is a much better placed corporate lawyer. I'm more of a journalist, but I think he can probably answer this. The answer would be no. It is undoubtedly a very beneficial tool, but is it going to be the premise of decision making or a tool to protect yourself? As we move along, I've kind of taken out different scenarios in which you would be exposed to a liability as a director or an officer of a company. And I've done it only in the context of corporate law, companies, because it's a corporate law program today. So all in all, it is exciting, very fashionable, but useful at the moment. I don't think we are there at the moment to really use it as a basis of your advice.
So I like the phrase fashionable, because I think everyone wants to be able to say that I've used ChatGPT. I'm aware of many teachers, in my experience I come across a few teachers also, and they've told me that we use ChatGPT to prepare worksheets, which I think is pretty cool. But now I'm going one step further to look at the law aspect of it. And it's very interesting that Mr. Sharma said that, would you pick a lawyer, or would you pick a software or a device which is giving you something. Now, the interesting thing for me, and Shivani, this is where I'm coming to you, because I think you're batting for AI in many respects. I know of doctors who've told me that by using deep learning, a lot of machines and systems are able to now predict outcomes of looking at symptoms as to whether it could be serious or not serious. So there is a move towards looking at software for better decision making or for a better assessment. Do you think the same thing can actually translate into the legal system, where you maybe need to look at, where I think right now also clients do need to look at the eyeballs of the person and know whether the advice that's coming is sound and coming from a right place or not? Do you think that translation can actually happen in the legal field? I don't know.
Yeah. So, okay, before I say my opinion, I completely agree with all the panelists here, frankly, because we are not there yet. Right now, what AI is, it's not a fad, it's not a threat, it's just a tool in its infancy stage. That's it. So, first, before we have these conversations of whether there's an apocalypse coming, or whether what's going to happen with us, is it going to take our jobs, we need to first step back and see what is it really doing, right? And like everyone said, that we need to treat it as a very efficient legal assistant. So it's going to do the same task that we were doing, but faster. Eventually, I think slowly there will be lesser errors also. Right now I know there are a lot of complexities and a lot of liability issues, like Sir pointed out, but eventually I think it's going to get better, and it will be a tool that's just delivering the same work that we were doing in Godspeed, right? Now coming to your question, where you said that where it's going to be used as a decision, see, it's going to help us, right? So if today I have to review a 50-page document to eventually come to a decision, it's going to help me read it faster. It's going to help me create summaries. So it's definitely going to be used in decision-making process, but it's not going, I don't believe that we will eventually, the human intervention will go away. I don't think so. And Sir also pointed out that, that basically whoever comes to lawyers for advisory, they are looking to hold somebody else accountable for the advice that they receive. Insurance, like he said, that until and unless the advice seeker knows that whatever advice that I'm receiving, if it's wrong, then I can go and I can go and ask that that this is wrong, or can we go some other way. So that liability issue. Yeah. So that liability issue, I don't think we can, we can't hold internet liable for a wrong answer, right? So we can't hold a typewriter liable for a typo. Similarly, we can't hold AI or a tool liable. Today, if like you mentioned SEC, you mentioned Google search. At the end of the day, if I'm searching on Google, as a lawyer, it's my responsibility to see if the links that it has thrown at me is valid. I can't quote Wikipedia in a court of law, right? So similarly, I think it's on us to see, the liability remains with the humans. It's on us to see how best we can use this tool. That's it. And I'm batting for AI because it's a better tool, efficient tool. It's going to help us do the same tasks very quickly. So that's the idea.
Yeah. I mean, we all know of the memes where people have landed up in a lake by following Google Maps and things like that, right? So, I mean, there's only that much that we can do with AI. But actually, the liability becomes a very interesting issue as to who's liable and how do you check? How do you check if I mean, I was staggered. I, as a matter of challenge, just to prepare for this, frankly, I asked ChatGPT to create a legal notice for me. In a matter of 30 seconds, it created a legal notice based on inputs I gave it. But I'm just wondering if a person outside wants to replace the lawyer with this, or let's say a law firm actually, or a lawyer actually uses ChatGPT to prepare a legal notice, and there's something crucial missing. How is the lawyer going to, or when we engage it in our practice, how are we going to absolve ourselves or protect ourselves from this kind of a liability? Mr. Saad, we have a thought on this?
Sure. No, I think Shivani hit it on. Yeah, this is probably the single most, in my mind, the single most reason why generative AI or intelligent AI will probably never really succeed in a legal framework, because ultimately the client is looking for accountability, and accountability here I don't mean in terms of a legal liability. I mean, I don't think in so many years in India anyone has ever sued their lawyers, even though they've had many reasons to do it. But I think it's more of a, you know, when a client, even in corporate law today, if a client is coming to a law firm or any lawyer, there's some part of it which they also say, okay, this is just mechanical work, we need 5 people to do it. Maybe an in-house team does not have those 5 people to do that specific item, work at that time. So we are coming to a law firm who has these battery of lawyers who can do it. But that's really a very small factor of the reason why a client chooses a particular law firm and decides to come to a law firm. Ultimately, the client is looking for comfort. Half the time, and many of my team is also sitting here, and I keep telling them, half the time the client is coming to you as, your role is, multiple things. You are an agony aunt, you are a friend, you are a trusted advisor, you are just a psychiatrist at times, you're just like a friend. You're just hearing them rave and rant about things which are going on in their lives, and then you're just trying to say, okay, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Now that's something which an AI tool can never do. So when we are giving advice to clients, there's some part of it which is the technical part of it, the law, but a large part of it is distilling all of that and saying, okay, this is the problem you have, how does the law fit into that, what are the options you have, given the regulatory framework in the country, given how regulators are behaving today, how RBI is looking at things, SEBI is looking, Supreme Court is looking. This is what I believe is the risk assessment. Now, 5 times out of 10, maybe the answer I give them may end up being wrong in terms of how the facts play out. Someone else may give a different opinion, and there's no right or wrong. But ultimately, the client follows my advice because they feel, okay, I can trust this person. I don't think a client is ever going to trust an AI tool. If I tell a client that I'm going to use an AI tool to generate my advice, they will not trust me either, even if I trust the AI tool. So I think that's the reason I feel in the legal profession, only a very small component of what we do can actually be outsourced to AI, and it will always be a tool in my mind.
Right. Mr. Sharma, do you have any comments on the liability? Especially since I'm sorry, just to add to that, I feel that as lawyers, billable hours become a very important issue also. So if something's getting done in 5 minutes, which could have taken 5 days, would law firms want to incorporate this?
But those 5 minutes are not going to be substitute for the 5 days. So that's for sure.
And there's the added liability. How do you protect?
No, as it is, it's difficult to convince clients to charge and give us hourly rates. Everybody has become very smart. They want caps and they want, but we do try to kind of caveat it. Well, that's on the lighter side. But if you look at the liability side, you see the concepts that we have in terms of exposure to liability are so judged so differently in different contexts. There are different liability situations. One is the liability as a fiduciary holding the position of a director or an officer towards your shareholders. It's a completely different ballgame. We talk of corporate governance. Corporate governance is not something which is in the sky or it's just written there. It's all that you must trust the person to whom you have, given your investments in the form of shares or whatever be. And I don't understand why we always call the whole concept of trust and corporate governance confined only to companies. There's no law which says that you can cheat your partner if you're not a company, and much less a listed company. So that is one part. The second kind of obligation or liability that you have would be a statutory obligation. A statutory obligation could be under the Companies Act. If you are liable, you're punishable for acts which you have done, which constitute a fraud on the company. The third is a statutory liability. Now you have obligations under if you look at section 34 of the IPC, which says there is a presumption of a director's liability or an officer's liability he is guilty of the offense, unless he proves, the owner shifts to him to prove that he exercised due diligence. Now where is that uniform standard? Now if you look at the regime as it has evolved in the West, best judgment rule, you see 2017 the European Parliament tried to lay down certain robust legal framework to ensure how AI would work. We don't have anything as of now, right? That is nothing codified. That's my understanding, unless I'm not laid my hands on it. If you look at US, they moved a step forward, but then they brought the whole concept of the best judgment rule. Now this best judgment rule is coupled with informed decision, conflict of interest, then section 463 of our Companies Act has a very different test. Mihir Wafatlal talks of fair and reasonable person. Now what is a test? We today don't have a uniform and unified test on which your obligation or your liability as the custodian of the interest of the shareholders, the obligations towards employees or to a statutory body can be really identified to. So that is something which will differ from situation to situation, statute to statute, circumstance to circumstance, the person to whom, and at the end of the day, when it's doctrine of indoor management will ultimately be also a determinant of what you are holding out to a third party. So these are all very complex regimes, and it will be very, very difficult to really rely on artificial intelligence to create an infrastructure on the basis of which you will protect yourself. So that is the biggest problem that we have today. And particularly, I'm only an Indian lawyer, but I can only talk of the complexity that we have in our system. But I'm sure you will have similar, I'm sure European Parliament would have different, even within European Union, they would have different countries having different exposures in terms of their corporate laws, their local liability statutes, their precedents, and to top it all, we have Article 142 in this country. So that's the other problem that you have to deal with. So in that context, I don't know, it's really going to be a substitute for an insurance. I mean, I'm not using it as a policy, but as an insurance, the generic sense, to protect you from all these kinds of obligations and responsibilities and liabilities.
Chancellor, I think you mentioned that legal education and the way we've gone about it also has had to change over the last few years. Do you think generative AI, how to use generative AI will be a part of the training that maybe a law student will have to go through in the future?
Yeah, I agree, because when science technology has emerged as a important tool in the legal education, particularly when we were looking as a criminal law teacher, I would look at when digital forensic never appeared. So we were looking at crime scene offense and other, and then forensic science, DNA fingerprinting, and now digital forensic has really emerged. And similarly, I think it's a time we all have to look at how generative AI should be part of the curriculum. In fact, I was trying to impress upon my colleagues and the students. I think the law students must learn now Python, R, and several other programs, and they should learn how to write a software. And American legal education already has forecasted, I think 5-6 years ago, they said the future legal education is law, technology, finance, accountancy merging together. Today, if you look at prevention of money laundering or several other emerging areas which are coming up, I firmly believe, there's a time has to come, law, technology and all this, when NLS Bangalore was started 88, after 10 years replication of the law schools all over India, that's one era we are looking at social science integration into law. Now law, science, technology, accountancy and much more like. This is going to pose several challenges. I think all the panelists have severally mentioned about interesting arguments. I'll just leave one recent, because as a public servants, like law teachers also, when we have to file our income tax report, my chartered accountant told me, Professor Rao, now the income tax department is using AI generative. Earlier I used to send my bank accounts from various, it's not necessary. My Aadhaar card, PAN is linked, and AI generative has catched all my accounts money which is available. Of course, teachers don't have much money to hide, but it's available. He said, look, I was wondering, that was really good. That's where, if you look at even cyber fraud, we have registered the future era is now the UN Convention on information technology, cyber crime, cyber fraud, almost all. The draft is ready, and the government of India, we are all seriously looking at where we should have a reservation, where we should immediately sign and ratify. If generative AI can help identifying the cyber fraud, we should use it. And when the account is freezed, how do we defreeze that account immediately? The several issues are coming up. So I am an incorrigible optimist. As a criminal law teacher, we said, yes, we need a scientific methods to solve the crime and also investigation. If a police investigation is taking, all major reasonable delay is police investigation. If AI generative, or we have a AI specialized police station, maybe in future, quickly investigation, 90 days, 60 days, we have written a CRPC, never happens. If it helps, if it is again moderated by a senior criminal lawyer, forensic scientist, we should welcome it.
I'm just wondering if AI does all that you've suggested, Vice Chancellor, then what will defense lawyers do? I mean, there's nothing for defense lawyers to do now. They
should first educate themselves and start with them, naturally.
No, but I must share something very interesting with you. I had read this DOJ, Department of Justice report.
Yeah.
And of course, because it was, the entire white collar crime regime across the world, and it was in the context of FCPA, because obviously there is an international implication in terms of offences committed outside of US there, and they have implications internally, externally. So one report which I read was that there was a categorization of the countries where, notwithstanding what you have attained through your means, your technology in terms of forensic investigations, but there is a philosophy behind it that what is a soft touch approach in respect of certain countries? Would there be a hard touch approach, or you just move very, very hard? So US of course was amongst the top categories, but they said when you're dealing with FCPA cases relating to countries like Africa, continents like Africa, even India was in the middle one. They said corruption is a means of life. So it is something which is now accepted in those jurisdictions. So that is again the subset of how really take your decisions on the policy level in terms of how do you use that intelligence also. But absolutely if we look at the whole regime, this is the best device that we have got to solve crimes. I mean, I had a very interesting experience. I was sitting in my office, and suddenly I heard commotion on the ground floor. I was on the first floor, and I came to know that my driver has been picked up by the cops. So he had a phone which is sold to his cousin, who sold it to somebody else who committed to use that phone, and he was picked up from underneath my office, and of course he was released after 2 hours when they realized that he had sold the phone. But that's the level of intelligence that these devices and the crime solving and the entire regime of, investigation, white collar investigations, blue collar investigations, employee investigations, tracer of asset tracing, attachment. I was actually amazed at, I attended a workshop in June, which was on relation to how do you liquidate, attach and trace crypto assets. So that's the level of advancement that we have seen in technology. I'm sorry I interfered, but I thought I must share that with you. Sorry.
Shivani, why don't we have your view on this as well? Because I think you had some thoughts as to career prospects in AI as well for legal students, right?
So, I agree with Mr. Rao when he said that the future of education is going to change, and a lawyer or basically everybody needs to have some knowledge of something, right? I'll speak from my personal experience. For a long period of time in my career, I kept saying, I don't understand this because I'm not good at maths. I don't understand a particular deal because I'm not good at maths. I'll only look at my side of, vertical, or I'll only give comments on my side of things because I know law, I know copyright, etc. But now the businesses have become so complex that even as a lawyer, you are supposed to know certain level of tech. You are supposed to understand certain level of, everything. And you can't regulate, you can't advise your lawyers advise your clients if you don't understand the business, because businesses have become, especially with now AI, internet, everything, gaming, any business field that you pick up today, it's so complex that you need to have some basic understanding of tech. So in future, I think my only recommendation or my base advice to the young lawyers would be that keep yourself abreast with whatever is happening. Like Mr. Sharma mentioned that EU is about to regulate, and that will be the first regulation that's going to come on AI. So not just in India, whatever is happening in this field, wherever, just keep yourself updated, because there are going to be a lot of prospects. There's going to be requirement for lawyers by government to basically spearhead advisory matters, right? The government bodies are going to need lawyers. The companies are not going to only need in-house counsels that understand tech, but also professionals who can help them build responsible technology. Because see, we are all talking about ethics, we are all talking about, but the techies don't understand ethics. Those principles of natural justice, that comes from those subjective disciplines, right? It comes from law, it comes from philosophy, it comes from psychology. So the companies are going to need lawyers who can help them build responsible tech. So until and unless, we are all updated with the field, we keep ourselves ahead, we don't have these conversations, I think it will be difficult for us to level up. But otherwise it's going to be, I think in next few years, just like how internet, right? Like internet gave us new fields of practices, right? We have IT law, we have privacy, that all came after internet came. So just like that, AI is going to give us a lot of new practice areas. So I think that's something that I thought that it's critical for the audience because I can see primarily students here. So yeah.
The minute there are more areas for lawyers, it's an optimistic side. But
good news for panelists as well.
Yeah. But Mrs. Saha, just going back to what you had mentioned earlier, we had said that earlier we used to go through documents and drafts, and It brought flashbacks of, harrowing days where you used to go look at definitions and proofread, etc. But it also kind of, brings in a culture of discipline, a culture of knowing what a document is going to do and why you're doing a certain document. I remember a senior of mine back when I was in the transactional side of the practice used to tell me it's like a game of poker where you push in a certain element without the other person. Now, if you have AI doing a lot of these clauses, and if AI runs the program and gives you an answer in 5 minutes that this definition does not match or whatever, they're proofreading errors, do you think the training of young lawyers who are in the practice, who have passed law school, will be remarkably different? And how do we make sure that young lawyers still have that, the ethic and the value to go on with the work?
That's an interesting perspective. So I think for a young lawyer or any lawyer, I think as lawyers we are always continuously learning and training ourselves. I think how much you learn and how whether it really depends on whether you want to learn. So it's not that if I today tell, let's say, a first year in my team that okay, please review 20 documents, proofread them, and because my idea is of course to get it proofread but also to train you, as opposed to saying okay, we have this software, this can help you do this proofreading which you would have taken maybe 100 hours to do it, this can do it in 15 minutes. Now the remaining time which has been freed up, please read these documents, not from a perspective of proofreading, but from a perspective of just learning how it works, and then if you have any doubts, you come and speak to the senior or the partner and understand it. Now, if the person wants to learn, I think that can happen anyway. So I wouldn't say that use of AI tools or electronic tools which will facilitate or make our jobs easier is necessarily a challenge to learning, because learning has to be a self-motivated thing in any way. We have enough people who maybe after even 4-5 years of reading the same document and again, but may not have learned enough because they just don't have that interest in what they're doing. Not a commentary on anyone's abilities, but just it's a question of interest.
So, Mr. Sharma, do you have any other thoughts on this? Because one of the other reasons is while it's learning, I completely agree, Mr. Chai is right, it depends on the individual. But from the perspective of a person who's running a practice, you may want, it's like deep learning, you may want your team to know, that this is the, foundation and the personality of a document. Would they really be able to get their grasp on that, do you think, if it's AI running it?
I have a much more conservative view on this. We can do a simple exercise, right? I'm sure everybody has cell phones here. After we have got this cell phone directory, how many of us can just, barring your immediate family members, your closest friends, if I tell you your closest friend whom you meet once a week, can you rattle off his number? You won't, because you're so dependent on this. And every time a set of trainees walks in, and I always take a session with all new joinees and trainees for half an hour, and that's when I ask them a very simple question, and then the question is, if I ask you to do research, and I think I shared with you Abhinandan on one of these days, that can you get me what is fundamental breach? A fundamental breach is nowhere defined in the Contract Act. The first tendency is to go and key in the word fundamental breach, take out whatever they get and come back. And that's where I identified with Gautam, what he said, in terms of it is your inquisitiveness to really understand the whole concept. So what the machine tells you is the output based on the input which you have given. It will never give you more than that. It will not give you the peripheral information which is relevant. So in this situation, when I talk of fundamental breach, when I didn't have the help of the computing devices or internet or artificial intelligence was a way far off concept at that point in time. I had to go back to my house with every day I want to draft a petition, if fundamental breach is involved, I'll carry the digest or 7 digests, contract act, all the leading commentaries. And then I know way, what I do is I open the subject index and say, where is it breach mentioned? I find there is no breach at all, right? Then I go to fundamental, then I go to fundamental breach. I couldn't find it anywhere in Indian Contract Act. Then I had to I went to Halsbury's and I found. So I went back and then I read the whole concept, the evolution of the fundamental breach concept, which started way back in 1967, I think, the All England reports of the House of Lords, of what the whole concept is when distinct from rescission and distinct from your avoidance of the contract, and then how you asked to perform a different contract and how you have the option to choose to not to choose to perform the contract, but if chosen then you merit to the contract. So this is a concept. So today I can talk like this only because I did that research, and in the bargain I didn't read what is that concept. I read what are the case laws from 1967 when All England report. And that is a limitation which you will always have if you are a ready tool here. And this is the most fearful thing because it kills creativity, it kills inquisitiveness. So what do you use it for is something which you need to be very, very careful about. Is it a solution provider? No. It is a tool, it's a device, that's all. And the difficulty, and I'm sorry, but I'm being a little too, I know I'm not getting the critic of the whole way, the manner in which we do our research today. Well, that's probably, I think, it's a generational issue. But the fact remains, we are brilliant minds. But we want to stop ourselves here, and then we don't want to go to the periphery, and then, because that is what is inculcated. It's a concept. As I said, corporate governance is not documented. It was never there in the Companies Act as a concept. It was something which came in as a guidelines by we didn't have a SEBI Act right way back until I think 1990 is the SEBI Act. And the corporate governance was brought in as a concept. And it was only codified there was no regulation, there was no law, it was in the listing agreement that you were supposed to have corporate governance guidelines. Nobody knew, everybody had his own concept of corporate governance. So it is a concept. So what we are teaching here is straight word, user, where it is used, what is the history, that's it. The concept behind the word we are not teaching. That's where I find there is a problem in terms of how we handle this.
No, that's very interesting. In fact, that brings me back to, I think, one of the topics that we touched upon earlier as to whether our legal education needs to incorporate this. Because I remember when, even in law school, when we started looking at various other softwares which I won't name here because they weren't EBC softwares, but then we tried to figure out how we're going to find the judgments. We were told to look at manuals and try and figure it out, which we didn't understand. But I think what's coming from Mr. Sharma is very important. Now, I'm just wondering, Vice Chancellor, how would you, in your university, ensure that students are not taking the easy way out? Because there is no easy, method to figure out that this is a AI generated answer or an answer that's come up from the students.
I know in the law schools, sometimes we blindly replicate that project is an essential component of evaluation of all courses. So that's now with the ChatGPT and all law schools, entire education also is facing this problem. But as a teacher, when a student submits a project or any answer with using ChatGPT or any other model, if I carefully read through, I can immediately find out this is not the language. Immediately I can see. Even when I evaluate a answer question paper, I can immediately know because I have taught this student. So but I don't know, this is a really challenging. Every higher education all over the world is looking at. One we were all thinking is how do we make more interesting the projects? Don't give in each course one project, put them together a group work. These are all the challenges, no answers.
No, but Vice Chancellor, I think that's a very interesting point. When you do recognize that someone has used ChatGPT or any other generative AI, do you penalize the person, or do you maybe tell him that use it better? Because if we are all... No, I'm just wondering, because if we're all...
Reserve my judgment, I have to decide some cases.
Let me ask you, Shivani, this, because I'm coming from a place where if we've accepted the fact that the future we will have AI, then I'm just wondering whether this is something that deserves penalization or deserves, a lesson that, use it better, because you're going to have to use it later on in the world anyway. Sorry,
Just don't get caught.
See, we have to accept it. I mean, we are evolving. As a society, as humans, tech is coming, we can't stop it. So I agree that, it's a generational issue, things are changing, the way we used to research, the way we write papers or solve little problems. I mean, it's changing. I know we have less attention spans, I digress, but of course, that's happening. But the main thing that we all need to do as a society is accept it and not create a friction. Now, coming to your question as to how can we mitigate it, or what we can do is, I believe, and this is something that we are doing at our organization also, and generally is something that create guardrails. Tell them that, okay, you can use this technology, but maybe disclaim it. Tell us that how you have used the technology, where have you researched it, just what kind of technology, which tools have you used. So that way, when the students know, and pointing out to the specific question, when the students know that they are allowed to use this tool, and they just have to disclaim it, they'll use it properly. They wouldn't think that they have to do it, behind the scenes, right? So one is that, of course, disclaimers. Secondly, I think what additional perhaps, something what else we can do is maybe we have to buckle up and give them problems that can't be simply solved on ChatGPT. We have to give them creative problems to solve. And because ChatGPT or any other generative tool today cannot solve creative problems. They are just a calculator, if I may, right? So until unless you can channelize them to give you certain answer of a larger problem, that's all they can do at the moment. So I think we all have to buckle up.
I think that's I'm glad my teenager son is not here listening to you trying to justify use of ChatGPT. But jokes apart, I think there's a difference between, or the way I would look at it, difference between how you use AI in legal education as opposed to the legal profession. See, in a legal education, let's say a project, which is probably the most obvious one for using a ChatGPT. The project is not an end by itself. I mean, there's no purpose of that, the end product which is not serving any purpose, right? It's the process which the student has to go through in doing that project. That's the skill you're trying to develop, that okay, you have ability to think through a problem, express your argument or your thoughts in a logical manner, organize everything in a proper way, figure out how to do the research, what are the questions you should be asking, how you should be framing the question. So when you do over a period of 5 years, maybe 30, 40, 50 projects, over a period of time, your mind gets trained. Now there, if you start using ChatGPT or any of these AI tools, that whole process is gone and you don't learn any of the skills. Now when you switch to a professional setup, see, when we give a memo from a client perspective, frankly, most of them don't care how I've written the memo and what tools I've used to write that memo. They are interested in the final product. So the perspective is very different. Now to get to the final product, yes, maybe 1 in 50 memos we write are pure information, where a tool like ChatGPT may be useful. But that's really a very small minority. I mean, we like those clients who, some MNC is coming in doing an India survey saying, okay, write me a 100-page thesis on Companies Act, banking law, securities law, any generic questions, they're willing to pay us for it. Now there, I'll be happy to use a ChatGPT type of a tool, which can condense a lot of information into, organized information, and someone just quickly goes through it. But that's very rare. Mostly clients are asking very specific questions. They want very specific answers, specific advice, actionable advice. So if I give a 4-page memo to a question to a client for an advice, I mean, they'll probably never come back to me again. So that's where in a legal professional setup, I don't know if those tools will be useful.
So, unless anyone else any further comments, maybe we can just open up for some questions. Does anybody have any questions for the panel members? No? I think we've solved all problems today.
Or sufficiently confused.
Sufficiently.
That is no doubt. Just like winter is coming from Game of Thrones.
Right. So, sorry. Yes.
Maybe we can develop a little more on what Professor Rao said. He said it in a lighter way, but if he discovers that he has money in accounts which are linked to his Aadhaar at the time that he has to file his thing, just because here you're looking at AI in the sense that someone else has manipulated it, and now when the tool is being used, he's discovering money in accounts which he has no clue about. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I think that's actually fair, because does that bring in privacy issues also? I mean, for example, Pegasus was one of the issues which was much talked about. Can that lead to that? Anyone thoughts, Shivani?
So the privacy issues are there, right? Of course, and we don't have an answer today. So this issue is there for open source software, where likes of Microsoft or other big techs, and I don't want to specifically point fingers at Microsoft, they are not taking liability for the open source software. But once they start commercializing it, right, when they send that APIs to your Microsoft Office and you have to subscribe to it, they have to take liability. Right, so those tools, it's like any other tool, right? I haven't read the terms of SEC, but I'm sure that all the tools, they eventually, if they have to commercialize it, if they have to reach out to the corporates, if they have to really get to business, they will have to take liability of any breach. Right, so eventually, I don't know how that is happening, but eventually, if the commercialized tools are put into play, you'll have to take liability. At the end of the day, the companies that own these tools will have to take liability.
No, but I have an experience. You say this marketplace business, when you talk of privacy, of course, you're talking of everybody takes a consent, right? In terms of, for example, the credit rating agencies. That regulation which has come in recently, and the RBI has been struggling with it. So they take consent. But I think the problem is that if we have not created an ecosystem, you see the conflict. I am involved in a case where somebody is selling, for example, a marketplace is selling, Amazon is selling something which is produced by my client, right? Now, somebody just goes to the marketplace, places it, the liability, product liability now under the new law is mine, right, under the under the new Consumer Protection Act. So that protection under section 79, I think 79 of the current IT Act, which provides protection, safe harbor provisions. Now, that is something which is again a conflict which you can't resolve so easily. We had a single judge of Delhi High Court saying that they are liable. They just because somebody is, they are not holding out anything in relation to the product. Somebody is coming, counterfeit products are being sold on the marketplace. They can't be liable. They are liable. Division bench says no. So Supreme Court doesn't know what to do with it. Sent it back to the High Court. So those are areas where I believe you need to have, I hope the new law, the data protection law, which will ultimately replace the IT Act, addresses it, but I think there are too many things to handle at the same time, and nobody can visualize what kind of situations will arise. Privacy, yes, I think the obvious gateway is the consent.
One question, Shivani, first correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my learning of AI in that sense and how it's working, I was reading a book in fact on this. It's a predictive machine, and one of the things it was saying was that if you want to really know the potential of AI, think of what it can predict right now and magnify that tenfold and see what it can do later. The question here is that we've right now discussed, the potential of AI to generate documents and information, etc., etc. But the building block of AI is prediction, where supposing you say today is going to be I'd say it's a good day or it's going to be a rainy day. When you magnify that and its potential to crunch massive amounts of data and then make predictions, where can that really come in? I mean, the judgments that a court is going to give, which party is going to pass which law. When you're putting in public data and of events which have happened, whether historically, socially, things like that, and the machine can then start predicting what is it that is going to happen. And I mean, the potential of AI in that space, and to be able to, I don't know if substitute lawyers or supplement their judgment, or when they have to give clients suggestions on, what action to take, what is going to be the likely result, what laws might come in, maybe even draft privacy laws, etc. because of AI, this, then what are the other things that can come about in drafting, and then again, likelihood of even human action. What human actions are going to take place? I mean, a judge's history, their own, background in terms of how they grew up and their own inclinations and biases, and what is going to be the result there. So, just anyone from the panel would like to.
I think there's a question.
There's this tool called premonition. If you've heard of this, that's exactly the tool, premonition, right? So that's exactly the tool.
So I don't know if anyone has an answer, but just to supplement this, you're absolutely right. In fact, even in the litigating space right now, whenever there's a matter, we always look at who the judge is, what's the proclivity of the judge granting relief, not granting relief, what's the bent of the mind. So all these factors are anyway coming into account when we're deciding as to, what kind of a counsel, whether we take an aggressive approach, not again. So it's certainly there. And, I had this conversation with the same doctor who I was mentioning a while back, who was talking about deep learning, and he was saying deep learning is soon going to take out a lot of radiologists and things like that, because you're going to have a software looking at 1 million reports, which is not going to be in the experience of even the most experienced doctors. And actually the conversation I had with him was whether at any stage deep learning can replace the judge. Because the deep learning of course in matters of sentencing and things like that might be a different issue, but whether there has been a breach, whether there has been a violation of the law, given the factual situation, given the law, whether a judge may be required if there's a system looking at 100 judgments and figuring out what to do. Any thoughts on that, Mr. Shah, Mr. Sharma, Professor Rao?
Just a few thoughts I thought I'll share. Look at recently Supreme Court started translating the judgment into several regional languages. That's where the AI generative tools. All India Council of Technical Education has been using this. That's where now engineering regional languages, that any book, an engineering book, can be translated into 8 regional languages within a short time, but it requires again the experts in that area to go through it. And so that's what I said in the initially also. In the legal profession, judging, legal education, in all these fields, the secondary, tertiary functions AI generative may be useful, not the primary core functions. I think that's, then the liability issues like definitions will now, who is person? It's going to come up now. So concept of a person in criminal law, concept of person in corporate law is going to change. In fact, in criminal law, we always use whoever commits so and so, so and so. Who is that whoever? Whether AI generative also should be coming. So these are all the definitional problems, liability issues will be coming, but I firmly believe is a time that the secondary, tertiary functions of all professions, maybe slowly they will start using. Lastly, my students already started and several law schools are worried about their placements. This time it's going to, I think, impact. Already the placements are season started and they are looking at maybe whether it is a ChatGPT or AI generative which is going to impact. They are just in the final years. Everybody is worried about it.
Just Mrs. Sadi, you have something to say?
I think students, at least for the next many years, can be very assured that any issues with getting jobs or not getting jobs has got nothing to do with AI. See, litigation, I agree. I mean, there's probably a lot of use for predictive behavior. I think even in the corporate practice, maybe predictive behavior is a little less, but a lot of times when we are doing transactions, you need to advise clients, okay, what is the market practice? Yeah. So if they're doing a particular kind of transaction, what are like 20 other companies doing when they're doing similar transactions? And it could be on very small issues like, okay, what kind of warranties or indemnities to be given? Yeah. And you need to advise them, okay, this is the trend. Now, a lot of times when we say this is a trend, sometimes it's just a question of how much confidence you're saying it with, rather than any backup knowledge, right? So, I think here AI tool, or I don't know whether it's a AI, you call it a AI tool or just a good research tool, which can do a quick survey and let's say, okay, there are 50 such transactions which have happened in the last 4 years which are similar. Do a quick scan of the documents or publicly available information and say, okay, this is the trend which was happening on this particular issue. I think that would be supremely useful for both us to give advice as well as for clients to say, okay, are we consistent with market trends or not?
But on a lighter side, I mean, on the day the software can tell us how Supreme Court's going to behave, I think hell has frozen over. So anything else you wanted to add, Shivani, before?
So, I think we are very, very behind from that happening. Because what data set do you train that AI on to give you that predictive answer, right? The prediction works because it is trained on swaths of data, right? That data that is available on internet. Right? So that's how the tools are working today. Also, it's not working specifically for India. It works better with English. It's not working better with local courts in India. I mean, it's not working. It wouldn't work for local courts in India. It wouldn't work for local situations today because the data sets are only, unfortunately, majority of the data sets are created by Western countries. So where we are at today. I mean, it can't understand cultural dialects, it can't understand cultural nuances, it can't understand socioeconomic situations, and I'm not even going into the states. I'm just saying that it can't understand India as a whole, it can't understand other non-Western countries today.
But do you think if you give it telephone recordings, they start processing all of that information which is there? I mean, people talking, it teaches itself whatever Tamil, Hindi, this, that, and the other. It can do that.
Yeah. Eventually, yes, but it's gonna take time. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I saw somewhere we have a software where a song can be sung in another singer's voice.
Yeah.
I mean, the minute you're doing that, now you're.
Yeah, and we're soon going to see litigations there, I'm sure. Because there are problems, right? Yeah. Because we all know that there are a lot of copyright litigations happening worldwide, right? Because these are things happening without consent. So that's why I'm saying, what data set do you train on unless somebody has given consent that their phone recordings can be heard or their personal life can be informed. Yeah. I mean, what we know of the judges is our experience from stories and hearsay, right? In a court. We don't know it because we have a database ready. Okay. So I think we are way way far behind from that happening. What was the second question? There was something interesting that everybody was talking about. Yeah. Okay, so there was something else. I lost trail of my thought, but yeah, so I don't think that's happening today.
One question I would have is that there is this entire, you hire a lot of law students from law schools primarily for the purpose of doing legal research, helping out with summarizing documents, all of that. How do you see that job changing going forward, especially given that that there is going to be significantly reduced requirement, given that AI is evolving, and of course you may not require them in those particular professions. We've seen at least some American law firms already reduce requirements for legal research assistants and similar jobs, because there has been a significant change in how they can use AI to reduce that workload.
So, I mean, theoretically what you're saying is right, that today if you need like 10 associates to read 500 documents, and then there is an AI tool which can do it within a few hours. So yes, theoretically, but I think in real life, when we just never have enough people actually. You just never have enough people to do the work which we do. So you hire 10 people thinking ki yes, we need 5, we are hiring 10, but by the time those 10 come in, you realize you needed 15. And so I think today as a law firm, if we are able to find ways to make the process of people doing work more efficient, I think that would be my focus rather than trying to reduce the number of people we hire. Because one of the other issues we face as law firms, I guess all lawyers, is also a burnout issue. By the time people get to the 4th year, 5th year of profession, a lot of them just feel, burnt out, that, they just don't have enough time to do other things. So honestly, there are tools which allow them to do things in a more efficient way and have time to do other things. I think it's healthy all around. I don't think we'll necessarily say, okay, now you, instead of 10 people working, 60-hour weeks, you have now 2 people doing 60-hour weeks. I mean, it's fine. I mean, those 10 people can just have a better life in my mind.
No, there's another. So there's another aspect to it. The aspect is, it's not, you see, the evolution of the whole legal space is so fast that when you're talking technology, you're talking started in your telecom regime, started with selling circles, then you unified technology through the same cable, you're doing everything, then you end up having complete regime change, technology improves. So it's not a question of number of people. The tasks are getting so complicated and so nuanced that you actually need to keep, and that's probably what Gautam is trying to say here, that if we require 10 people, we feel we need 20. We need 20 not only because somebody's taking over their job. The job in itself is getting so large in size and nuances that you need to keep pace, and you in this competitive world you need to keep pace with the developments you've got to have. So that's where we never talked about marketplace, and IT Act has been there for so many years. Marketplace came in only 10 years ago, right? So marketplace law, now we're talking marketplace, we're talking about 20 nuances of marketplace, how it plays with different laws, how the liability regimes interplay. All that is getting so complicated. It's not, I don't think that it's going to be a problem in that sense.
And isn't it better that the young lawyers don't have to go through hundreds of documents and proofread?
No, we did it. I have a serious issue with that. They better go through 200 documents.
I'm conscious of the fact that we've gone
to learn. You should be there.
Yeah, that fire is, you need that.
No, I'm just coming from a place of vengeance. I mean, that's the area. But I'm conscious of the fact that we've gone a little beyond what we were the time that was allocated to us. But I'm very grateful for everyone on the panel for expressing such wise words, and for me to basically just be able to marry thoughts on each other. I was hoping for that fight, but that didn't happen, but maybe some other time. But thank you so much for it.
That was indeed an insightful and enriching discussion. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all the panelists for sharing their expertise and engaging in this stimulating discussion. As we come close to the close of this event, it is my honor and privilege to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our esteemed guests, panelists, and the entire audience. Your presence and participation have made this occasion truly special. We are immensely grateful to our chief guest, Professor Srikrishna Deva, for gracing us with his wisdom and insights. Sir, your address has been inspiring, and we thank you for your invaluable contribution to this event. A heartfelt thank you to the distinguished guest of honor, Mr. Atul Sharma, Mr. Gautam Saha, Ms. Shivani Singh, and Mr. Tishampati for sharing your expertise and perspectives in the panel discussion. Your valuable insights have enriched our understanding. Lastly, to our wonderful audience, thank you for being part of this remarkable event. Your enthusiasm and engagement have made this event a success. We hope this event has provided valuable insights into the 2-year MA Corporate Law program and the potential of AI in corporate law. We hope that the insights shared today will continue to resonate and contribute to the advancement of corporate law education and practice. With that, we come to the end of this event. Those of you who have any inquiries or would like to know more about the program, curriculum, or admission process can visit the registration desk located outside the hall. Our dedicated team will be there to assist you and provide all the information you need. Thank you all once again, and we wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. Please proceed to the designated area for some engaging conversations and, of course, enjoy the high tea. Have a lovely evening ahead.